Thank you for tuning in to the North Front Range MPO's 2050 Regional Transportation Plan, or 2050 RTP, presentation. To begin, this presentation will cover 5 important topics related to the RTP. I'll start by introducing what the RTP is, then move on to discussing the planning process, what will be included in the chapters and sections, the timeline and schedule for completion, and I'll end by providing information about how people can stay involved in the planning process. The RTP is, as its name implies, the Long-Range Transportation Plan for the North Front Range region. I'll show a map of the NFR-MPO region on the next slide for geographic context. As shown on the screen, our Planning Council adopts a new RTP on a 4-year schedule. In the development of the RTP, we look at all levels of the transportation system: roadways, freight, transit, bicycle and pedestrian, and even emerging trends like electric and autonomous vehicles. Some things to note about the RTP include that it must be fiscally constrained, which means all of the projects included in the plan must have anticipated funding. It analyzes local, regional, state, and federal trends like population and job growth, investments, and funding. And it must be developed with the input of stakeholders. Some examples of stakeholders include members of the public, businesses, local governments, state and federal partners, environmental agencies, and inner-city transportation services. The other major thing to highlight is that the projects included in the RTP must conform to air quality requirements. For more information about air quality conformity, watch the NFR-MPO's video about air quality linked in the description. As a quick overview, the NFR-MPO is a regional transportation planning agency focused on the portions of Larimer and Weld counties roughly bounded by Fort Collins, Berthoud, LaSalle, and Eaton. Elected officials from each community comprise the Planning Council, the decision-making body. Within the planning area, there are approximately 525,000 residents and 300,000 jobs, which is only expected to grow over the lifetime of this plan. As alluded to earlier, the NFR-MPO also leads air quality efforts and holds calls for projects to award federal funds in the region. In essence, the NFR-MPO exists to reduce the number of separate silos and present a cohesive, long-range vision for the region. There are essentially 4 puzzle pieces that we need to fit together for the RTP development process. The first and foremost is community engagement and outreach. We need to make sure that the final plan reflects the wants, needs, and priorities of the people living and working in our region. Another key component is development of 2 models. The first is a land use allocation model, which takes information from the Census and State Demographer's Office about jobs and residents, land use and other development data from local and county governments, and provides projections about the number of households and jobs through 2050. The other major model that is developed is the Regional Travel Demand Model, which uses the land use allocation model data and considers things like traffic counts, transit ridership, and transportation projects to identify future volumes on roads and transit. Models are discussed further in the NFR-MPO video about modeling, which is linked in the description. We then take what we hear from the community and the data outputs from the 2 models, and we analyze the financial capabilities of the region. This is done based on regional forecasts for funding based on current trends. All of this information is evaluated to identify the final recommendations and overall plan that is presented for approval by the Planning Council. To further elaborate on how the process applies to the final plan, the next few slides explain the chapters and sections proposed for the 2050 RTP. The first chapter provides context by explaining the NFR-MPO in Northern Colorado, the planning process and factors used in the transportation planning process, and the vision, goals, and related plans. The multimodal section will provide a snapshot of the transportation system as it looks today. The last section explains how communities can request to amend the RTP to add projects and keep the plan as up-to-date as possible. New for the 2050 RTP is this Trends chapter, which will provide a direct line between what is happening today and what might happen in the future based on modeling. We also look at emerging trends in technology, how we are achieving performance measures and targets, and the safety and resiliency of our transportation system. In Chapter 2, we talked about the link between existing data and the potential for the future based on modeling. Our region is organized into regionally significant corridors, or RSCs, regional transit corridors, RTCs, and regional active transportation corridors, or RATCs, which all focus on corridors with regional impacts. This chapter, Chapter 3, will consider the different scenarios that are run using the models and how the regional corridors may look based on the potential investments and priorities of local communities. For example, what does our region look like if our development happens in the downtown cores of our region? What if we put all of the available funding into projects on I-25? Corridor visions and scenarios will be developed with the input of local communities. Now that we've looked at current data, trends, and regional priorities, the big question is what the region can afford. We do a deep dive with our local, state, and federal partners to identify known and expected funding sources. Once we know how much the region can afford, we have a better idea of what projects can be funded and modeled. Because not all projects can be funded, we also identify these projects which are included to show they are important to the region in case additional funding is available. We also want to make sure we align with CDOT's 10-year list of projects. Information about this list can be found via link in the description of this video. The NFR MPO and its partners have a lot of work to do in the next 2 years. We anticipate the plan to be adopted by Planning Council in September of 2023. Plan development will happen throughout. The NFR MPO contracts with a consultant for the travel demand model, which will be developed throughout 2021 and 2022. This must get signed off by the local communities for accuracy. We'll also be updating our goals, objectives, and performance measures, as well as the targets. In green on this diagram, we'll be identifying projects and updating our transportation improvement program. In addition to the RTP, we'll also be updating our public involvement plan and congestion mitigation process, or CMP. We want you to stay involved with the development of the 2050 RTP, so keep an eye on all of the things posted on the screen. Our website, nfrmpo.org/2050-RTP, will be updated periodically to include new resources and informational items, as well as outreach opportunities. We'll also be updating our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram with information about the plan. Our social media handle on all of these platforms is NFRMPO. We have an email set up at planning@nfrmpo.org, which goes to all of the planners, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. And finally, please reach out to have us come speak to your group and community. We're available to have small chats and dig deeper into the topics covered by the RTP. Thank you for watching this video about the 2050 Regional Transportation Plan. We're excited to see where this region is going.